Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
This is our Christmas episode.
Happy holidays.
And happy holidays.
Yes.
And this is the greatest time of year for me. I love this time of year.
I like it too because you get a little time off. Although I was in court today. I just came back from court. I had a hearing. So crime doesn't stop.
So if you're a defendant, do you like it that it's Christmas Eve and you have a hearing? Does that help? Does the Christmas spirit blow through the courtroom and show you some leniency and mercy?
Sometimes the spirit of Christmas is truly with prosecutors and they give better deals. They tweak the deals a little bit because it makes sense. They're in a good mood.
Right.
They want to close their cases.
Yeah.
And if you're kind of close to what they want and you want, sometimes they do give you that favor and say Merry Christmas. I was actually trying to get a deal today based on that, but it didn't work.
How'd it go today?
It didn't work.
No.
But it got continued for other reasons.
Okay.
But let's get into it. Let's talk about the Sicilian with $1 million, Luigi Mangione, the one and only.
Why with $1 million?
He's got multi-millions. He's a millionaire.
Okay.
Well, actually, he might be disinherited now. His grandma apparently said if you get accused of any crime, the Mangione matriarch, the one that started it, you're barred from getting any inheritance. So I think the mom and the dad right now are paying for the inheritance through their own private funds, even though he has a GoFundMe page.
He's a trust fund guy.
He was a trust fund guy.
But you're saying the matriarch or the family in like she preemptively put some clause in her trust that said if you're convicted of a crime.
Accused. Not even convicted. Accused. If you're accused of a crime.
Accused? That makes no sense. Accused sucks. Convicted, I could kind of understand, but you'd have to specify what crime.
Well, yeah.
Is it shoplifting or is it cold-blooded
No.
first-degree murder? Like
no,
in this case?
I read the will and testament. It specifically states accused. That's what grabbed my attention. It could be boilerplate, like the lawyers may have shoved that in without the grandma knowing about it. That's very possible. But at the end of it, the grandma says, "This is my wish because they want to maintain the Mangione name." They come from Sicily, by the way. It might have something to do with it.
If the lawyers put it in, it would probably say if you're accused of a crime, your lawyer gets the trust.
Well, that doesn't really work that way.
I'm kidding. Lawyers are good. We love lawyers.
It doesn't really work that way. It would bounce. So how it would work is it bounced to one of the other cousins. They have many cousins and grandparents.
Right.
But here's what's going to happen. The people that love Luigi are going to come up to Luigi and say, listen, we all got a little something off of your inheritance that you forfeited because of your accusation, but here's your share. I'm going to give you, your share back. I'm sure the family's going to do that.
People do love Luigi. I mean, and you saw that when he was being led into the courtroom, there were protesters outside. They had signs. What did the sign say?
Marry me.
That I didn't see.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. I get
Marry me, Luigi. There was like 5 girls over there already donating their, spirits to him.
I know. There's girls, they think he's hot. Yeah. There's like gay YouTubers are talking about how he's hot. It's like everybody thinks he's hot.
I wouldn't know that.
I mean, I've seen it.
I'll take your word for it.
There were other signs outside the courtroom like deny, delay, depose. People were holding those signs up.
Right.
But just to touch on Christmas for 1 second, it is Christmas. And I mean, I'm not deeply a religious person, very spiritual personally, but I was raised Christian Orthodox. And I really do think the teachings of Christ are important for anyone of any religion. I think just the tenets of all religions are like great. Christ would not approve of Luigi Mangione. He would not approve of this vigilante justice. Right? In the spirit of Christmas, Luigi is not within the spirit of Christmas.
Well, most of legal principles derive from religion. From the Old Testament to the New Testament. Most of the provisions and the law in our Constitution derive from the principles of the Old Day. So, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. All that is obviously incorporated from the mores and the principles that were established in religion. But you understand there's got to be a separation of church and state and church and religion. But to go to your argument,
I'm just saying he's not a good guy. If he's convicted of what he's accused of, if he really did do what we think he did, all of this fandom around him, all of this pop culture intrigue that he's generating, these girls who think he's so hot and there's just go Luigi, save Luigi. He did a stupid thing and he threw his life away, probably, most likely. You might disagree, but like also he killed the wrong person. Like he didn't really actually think this through. For being as brilliant a mind as he seems to be, he did something really, really stupid. And he kind of stupidly killed someone that was not related to the problem he was trying to solve directly.
Well, he had an agenda, and his agenda was to send a message. The message was heard, loud and clear. Look what happened when he got transported to New York on that helicopter, the big show that they did.
What was that,
It was Batman. Eric Adams walking up to the Joker and looking him in the eye and saying, "You're now."
That was
in New
so
York City.
cinematic. Like I used to do music videos.
Yeah.
This is the most common music video shot we would do, which is like the artist in front, surround just a crowd of people from the neighborhood walking behind him. Like a crowd. He's the Pied Piper. What was that?
Yeah.
It literally looked like it was out of Batman Beyond, Gotham. Like police after rows and rows of police behind him walking. Why?
I don't know. They didn't do it for El Chapo. Take a look at El Chapo. Do you see the same kind of entourage for El Chapo in that photo? No, right?
Not even close.
Do you see AR-15s?
Not even close to the way it looked.
Would you
with
say El
Luigi.
Chapo is one of the most wanted people on the planet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how
no
many
doubt.
police officers do you see in that photo?
Yeah, there's a couple on each side.
Okay, now let's take a look at another photo. Who is that? You tell me. Whitey Bulger, right?
Hold on, I can't tell.
All right, I'm telling you, it's Whitey Bulger.
Whitey? Okay.
Whitey Bulger.
That, yeah.
All right.
Another handful of police.
One of the most notorious mobsters of all time.
Yeah.
Serial murderer.
Yeah.
Serial. He's how many people do you see behind him?
Yeah.
Couple.
Three
right?
people in the image. with
And
him.
one AR-15 pointed down,
Yeah.
right? Nonchalant.
Yeah.
Now,
Like whoever directed that scene did not do as good a job as this next one you're going to
all right, so now.
This is Martin
Take a look at
Scorsese
this.
now. Look at that. I mean, it's epic. It's epic. It's one dude in orange and surrounded by a crowd of officers. And I think you could get an even wider shot where there's literally 100.
And what does that photo tell you as a juror that's now seeing this in the news, a prospective juror? What does that tell you? What's the message that they're sending?
I could see that message going two ways. I think there's a juror out there that sees that and says, guilty, obviously. But then there's another juror that may look at that and say, set up.
Well, let's just use the common sense approach. This tells me, if you're looking at it, that the person must be dangerous. He must be the most dangerous person on the planet.
Yeah.
They didn't do this for El
Yeah, I
Chapo.
mean, the AR next to him pointed down.
they didn't
At
do
any second, he could blow his head off.
They didn't do it for the most notorious drug dealers in the world and the most notorious serial killers, but they did it for this 24-year-old kid from Baltimore, Maryland. Why? I'll tell you why. And you may not agree with this. I kind of understand why they did it, but I'm outraged as a criminal defense attorney because they're taking away the presumption of innocence. They're doing it politically to send a message to the copycats. Don't even think about it.
I agree
We're going to be
100%.
on you all over. Now, politically, they don't care if they
100%.
violate his rights because they need to sacrifice his rights. Mangione's rights need to be sacrificed.
In this case, yeah.
In this case, for the greater good, the utilitarian.
Agreed. Yeah.
So
it's utilitarian. Yeah.
So they're sacrificing the small person for the greater good. As a criminal defense attorney, I'm outraged. As a citizen, I understand.
It's interesting. I don't know who made that call. At what level of our government does that analysis take place? But I do agree with that analysis because looking at it, we are in a period of time right now in this culture that the wealth gap is greater than it's ever been. There's populism on the right. There's populism on the left. So like the little guy is standing up and saying F you to the system. This is just where we're at a moment of history. And I think that it could hit a boiling point quick. And whoever the powers may be that are analyzing these on a big picture level and making these decisions, you're right. And I do see that they look at Luigi as a potential spark that could ignite a much larger forest fire of populist uprising. It's almost like the 1700s, like the French Revolution. It's like they're looking out the windows of Versailles going, the mob is coming and they will chop our heads off. And Luigi is one of those at the front of the mob, like that populist saying, I don't give a shit about the law. I don't care what's right, what's wrong, what Christ said, what religion says. I'm going to whack this guy. I'm taking him out. I'm going to pull out the queen from the castle and I'm going to cut off her head. And that's what we're looking at. And so maybe I think you're right. Who are the powers that be? Help me understand. But somebody somewhere made the call. Make an example of this kid or else we might be effed.
that call was made by many different prosecutors and many different law enforcement agents. They all spoke to each other, and they are trying to send a message that, you do this again, we're going to come after you, and we're going to give you the death penalty. We're going to take you to a place called Deathland, where you ride the Grim Reaper, which is the roller coaster, and we show you the Carnival of Blood. That's where you're going to go if you do this again in New York City. So basically, Mayor Adams is trying to say, don't F around here. We're serious. And when you see those images, you get a little scared. When you see the other pictures I showed you with El Chapo, you don't get too scared with some guy nonchalantly walking you down the corridor and like Waddy Bulger. But with this guy, when you take a look, I mean, any one of those guns could go off. Everybody's dead. I mean, there's an AR-15 assault rifle, which is a weapon of war, a war weapon. So it's not like they're trying to protect Mangione from getting killed, where they're going to take the machine guns and just start shooting everybody.
That's not the vibe I get. That's not the vibe.
The vibe is, we're here to kill you,
Yeah.
the public, if you think about doing it again.
Right. So if you're some kid at home, if you're some sort of like outraged person who may have a psychotic break or who may think that vigilante justice is the way to go, you look at this and hopefully you get deterred.
Yes.
I hope so, because it's better for all of us. And I don't want friends who are CEOs to be living in danger. I don't want,
Well,
this could be anybody. Anybody could decide that you're the bad guy and decide to shoot you or me in cold blood in the middle of the street, or anyone. God forbid. Like, God forbid. I mean, this is insane. You cannot go around doing that. It's not justice of any kind.
It's not the society I want to live in.
No. It's bad for everybody.
It's bad for business. Yeah. And another reason I think they did it is because Manhattan is known, when people go to Manhattan, they want to know that they're safe, right? I don't want to go to Manhattan knowing that I could just get a bullet in the back of my head from a disgruntled person.
Exactly.
And more so, when people watch this, when he took off, it hit high priority because he was gone for a long time, Tony. And frankly, I don't think he would have ever got caught as easily if he didn't really mess up and start taking public transportation and for some reason, going and getting a hash brownie in Altoona, Pennsylvania, which sorry to cut you off. I think that's going to go to his mental health defense in a sec. I'll talk to you about that. But the bottom line is, this guy was like jumping from A to Z, all these different places. And he winds up, I don't know where, in Altoona, Pennsylvania, getting caught.
Yeah. Even notwithstanding the fact that what he did was morally, ethically, criminally, legally wrong in every way, I have zero support for what he did. Okay. Still, that being said, there's parts of this case that stink really bad to me. Just my own common sense, gut intuition. And I'm going to tell you the biggest part of this that stinks to me. Okay. The part of this that I absolutely call BS on is, I just cannot buy that a McDonald's worker called this guy out and that was the tip that brought the authorities to him. I cannot buy that. Here's what I actually think happened. Call me crazy, but I want you to listen to this part. I want to really get your take on this.
I'm listening.
I am certain that there's surveillance technology and a surveillance network out there that we don't know of as citizens. We're not fully up to date. Yeah.
Like the drones?
Yeah. Like Snowden revealed some stuff. That was a long time ago. You could go watch TED Talks of technology that the government had 50 years or more ago, where they could like point laser beams and high-res video at a potato chip bag on a table where two people were speaking in a high-rise across the street. And just by filming the micro vibrations of that potato chip bag, they can recreate with high likelihood the words that were spoken between those two people. Okay. Insane tech that our government has. Okay. You agree? I don't know what it is, but they have something.
I'm listening.
Okay. Every essence of my gut tells me that for sure there's technology that we're just, as citizens at our level, we're not made aware of for many, many reasons. The drones are probably that. The UAEs are probably that. The UFOs are probably that. It's our technology, I think. But in this case, whatever technology there is that's surveilling people who go into a McDonald's, it could be the screen that you order on. It could be a little camera on the cash register when you're there. It could be just the security cameras at McDonald's. I believe that the government's probably running some kind of high-end facial recognition algorithm, something that, we'll have as private citizens like in 10 years. They probably had 10 years ago. So whatever they're running, they don't want to reveal that. Therefore, the story they use is that a McDonald's person spotted him, called, and got the authorities there. I think the real story in my mind is probably some kind of surveillance followed him, found him, detected him, and then they caught him because they need to catch him. Because if he would have got away, holy
There's
crap.
just one problem with that theory. That means the McDonald's employee's in on it.
I don't know the McDonald's employee. I'd have to have him at this table, sit down and have a conversation with him to understand him or her. I don't even know. But it doesn't sit well with me that somebody could have spotted him based on the pictures that we had before, a couple states over, and just kind of said, I think that's the kid.
Look, it's Altoon. It's not New York City. No offense, it's not the most exciting place in the world. There's probably not a lot of people walking into that McDonald's. This is plastered all over the news. Mm-hmm. And this guy's got super bushy eyebrows, okay?
I mean, but they don't look bushy in the picture.
They look pretty bushy.
Do you have the pictures?
I do.
Let's go over them.
So
let's go over them because it just sometimes doesn't really look like him.
So the first, so let's, when you talk about the digital process, let's go over that with the photos. They had all over Manhattan. It's hard to commit a crime and not get caught. So he's wearing his face mask, right? So his lawyer is going to say, so what? It's how do you know it's him?
But I think even with a face mask with really high-end facial recognition technology, like not the one on my iPhone, something on a high-level military grade, they can use the distance between your eyes, the bushiness of your brows, the folds in your skin. They can identify.
It's an identity expert. Yeah. All right, so when they found him, he escaped all these photos and he escaped everything. He's wearing a mask, but the thing is, he got caught with everything on him. He got caught with a manifesto. He got caught with the printed gun. He got caught with the silencer. So it's hard to say that it's not him, even if you dispute the forensics, which I have a forensic expert that could dispute anything. I could videotape you and then get my guy to say, I don't think it's you, based on the codec that you used inside the player, based on whether your player opened, whether it was hacked, whether it was put it through a virus. Mm-hmm. So he could have got away with this thing. You know what I'm saying? But he got caught with all these things on him. And it's hard to explain who had the manifesto, why do you have the gun, and so forth.
Yeah.
But let's go into what you talked about. You said there's technologies that the government may have. Well, I'll tell you what the government is disclosing, the technology and how they located him. I can't tell you about the speculation, but I could certainly tell you what they've disclosed inside the indictment. And
let's hear it.
All right. So you know what an indictment is, right? An indictment is a criminal complaint.
It's the official charging document.
Yeah. They went to a grand jury, and this is what they told him. So supposedly on November 24th at 10 o'clock, he comes, according to the indictment, to the Port Authority bus in Manhattan, and he takes a taxi to the area in Midtown Hotel where this guy, Brian Thompson, is. Follow me so far?
Yeah, Brian Thompson's about to walk into a investor meeting, which he's hosting.
Correct. Now, he uses a fake ID, and he creates a fake ID himself. Mark Rosario from Maplewood, New Jersey.
Okay.
I'm not really sure how he did this, but he got fake ID. I guess you could get fake ID easy in New York, maybe create it on his computer. I don't know.
And when I look at this picture of Mark Rosario, this fake alias used by Luigi Mangione, what jumps out at me just as a regular dude looking at a face is bushy eyebrows and very prominent nostrils. That's what I see.
Yes, that's a front facial shot.
That is something I might remember if I met this guy again.
All right, well, I'm going to convince you how they got him. It's not going to be an identity issue. But so the second thing is the reason why I identify him. That's not the only photo. The second photo is the only time that he lowered his face, only one time and one time only, and he was forced, was at the hostel to identify whether he is Mark Rosario. These are the other two photos. They're very similar to the one in McDonald's, super similar. Bushy eyebrows, same nose, same smile, same pearly white teeth.
Okay, hold on. Okay. This is the photo that throws me a little. I call it like the Hobbit photo or the elf. He looks like an elf. I mean, he looks like he's out of Lord of the Rings, like an elven. He's got the hoodie on down. Yeah, I see some bushy eyebrows there.
And
I
remember-
don't see the nostrils because it's a different angle.
And keep in mind, this guy that kind of looks like him
Yeah.
is in your McDonald's restaurant eating a hash brown.
This guy right here?
Yeah, is
Yeah.
he's eating in a corner. Okay, I'll show you a photo of that now, all right? So that guy eating the hash browns, I don't know if I have the hash brown. You could Google that. I'll pop it up later. But okay, so what happens next? So on December 4 at 5:30, he left the hostel and he leaves and he gets caught on camera at 5:35 riding an electric bicycle down Central Park west to a nearby location. So they grab him. This is all called circumstantial evidence, by the way. So you don't need to actually have a witness to prove, oh, I saw you kill him. You could just show through the cookie crumbles, as I call it during voir dire. I tell the jurors, if you tell your child not to eat a cookie, and then you come home and you see a bunch of cookie crumbles going all the way to his bedroom, you don't need to see him eating the cookie to know that he ate the cookie.
So you don't see his face, but tell us what identifying features are there in this photograph.
The backpack. So there's a backpack, and I'm going to get to that next one. So,
It is an oddly shaped backpack.
Okay, so
very
watch.
uniquely shaped.
So now there's another photo of him taking the bicycle and heading down to, I believe this is to the area. He's circling the area and is getting a cup of coffee in the area at 5:41 in the morning. Take a look at that photo.
He's circling the area.
Yeah, he's walking around the area of the Midtown Hotel, and at one point he buys some items from a coffee shop. And then he goes back to a bench in the vicinity of the Midtown Hotel.
So he's just getting ready to kill at this.
He's getting ready to kill, and he's using his phone. He's calling somebody or using his phone or doing somebody. I think it's probably
Again,
using a
the
tracker.
identifying features being the backpack, the silhouette of him, the hoodie, the jacket he's wearing at this moment.
And it's connecting the dots. It's the same person connecting the dots from
Right.
morning all the way down to where he killed him.
We lost him at that camera. We picked him up at this camera.
So we lost him at 5:41. Now we picked him back up at 6:45. So that's about an hour later. Not even an hour. Yeah, about an hour later. They pick him up, and he is heading towards Midtown Hotel at 6:45. And let me show you that shot. So that's a shot of him. He's making a turn. An hour later, he's going to the victim, and at 6:45, that's when he approaches. Right after that, according to the indictment, after that scene, okay, we're going to show you on our show.
But I have a question. What about in between those two? Do you think they have images of him in between? We just don't get to see it?
There may be, and I'm sure there is. So
There has to be, right?
Absolutely. They only parsed together it really quickly what they needed to arrest this kid.
Well, or they're giving us the minimal that we need to follow along, but they don't have to tell us every bit of technology that they have.
They don't.
Nor should they.
Hold on. That's not what I'm saying.
I know you're not saying
I'm
that.
not saying that
I
they're
know
not
you're
introducing the technology. I'm saying,
get it.
and by the way, they can't not introduce the technology, because when you request evidence, they need to give you everything. They can't say we're not going to give it to you because it's based on new technology. They can't do that.
There's no way the government is going to give you everything, even though they say they are. They will lie and withhold technology that's top secret. The court doesn't get to see that.
They can't lie if you know that something was captured and they have it in their possession. They can't lie about that. So if they have something in their possession, an audio or video that you could do what's called a motion to compel.
They would have
a hearing.
They had the film of JFK being assassinated for many, many years before it was forced to be revealed.
Okay, you're talking about national security as opposed to a simple murder that happened on.
Yes, but what technology the government has is a question of national security. In other words, they cannot show you their hand. Hey, we can also do this and we can also do this. Hey, by the way, RJ, we didn't tell you this, but we can actually spot someone from a satellite riding their e-bike in downtown Manhattan, and we can take high-res video of that. We don't want you to know that. Maybe in 2040, we'll let the general public know that, because by then we'll be doing way more crazy stuff. I'm just saying, I believe, you probably disagree with me, I believe that they have that ability to do that.
Well, we can't
via
speculate.
satellite.
We can't speculate.
Well, I'm just saying they can trace and capture the criminal with their own high-tech way, even if the legal case doesn't need to rely on that. It can rely on images from downtown Manhattan.
I've been doing this for almost a quarter century. Nothing's been revealed to me yet
It
from 20
won't,
years ago.
It won't be
From
revealed.
20 years ago.
It will never be revealed to you.
I'm not a conspiratorial person.
But the Zapruder film itself is something that was covered up
security
and then revealed when it was forced.
That's a national security issue. Apples and oranges. We're dealing with I'll tell you
if the government has the ability to track people and the people don't know, that's a national security issue. Because if Al-Qaeda knows everything the government can do, then they can escape.
You can't do a FOIA request for national secrets, a Freedom of Information Act. You can for these kinds of cases.
Exactly. So if you
so they won't hide the ball, Tony. They won't hide the ball on national
unless it's a national security issue.
Yes.
So we can agree on this. We can at least agree that if it's a national security issue, they will not reveal their methods.
They may not reveal their methods if it's a national security issue.
And so we disagree on one thing. I say the methods themselves are a national security issue. In other words, revealing the methods already diminishes national security. That's what I say.
So let me give you 3 examples of cases where I could see the government refusing to give information. In the Tsarnaev Zohar case, the Boston bomber,
the pressure cooker at the Boston
There were tons
Marathon.
of videos everywhere. I'm sure all discovery probably wasn't produced. Maybe I could understand that, okay? For national security reasons, maybe not. Maybe Dylan Roof, the guy that was convicted of sentencing, killing 9 parishioners in South Carolina. Maybe, I don't know. Anytime there's a national security issue, I can't really tell you because I wouldn't know. And even if I did know, I couldn't tell you.
Fair, we agree.
So I don't really want to speculate.
No.
I'm only dealing with what we know.
Yeah.
But, I guess we could have another topic about speculation about what the government has and doesn't have. But right now, what we do know is as follows. What we do know is right after that happened, so right after he took off, where were we at?
He's on the e-bike. He's circling around Manhattan. He's getting ready to kill. He's stalking his prey. He's waiting for poor Brian Thompson to walk.
And at 6:58, after he shoots this person, they catch him on camera maybe 7 minutes later going down West 85th Street and Columbus Avenue. Take a look at this photo. So again, the timeline is right there. They got the same guy, same backpack, same hoodie, same everything. Okay?
This is after the shooting?
After the shooting, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see that.
Okay. Next. So what happens now? After that, sometime thereafter, when they're 10 minutes after this, or approximately 10 minutes after this, they find a bag.
That looks like it. That's definitely the bag. No, I can't say
I'm
definitely.
Sorry. I'm sorry. It was December 6th that was found. I apologize. That was found on December 6th.
It's got a rather rectangular, rigid shape with rounded corners.
Okay. Now.
Very defined silhouette.
So at 6:58, he was traveling down. And then what happens is, for some reason, at 7:04, he takes a cab. And this is the photo they took of him in the cab. Again, bushy eyebrows. You see his eyes, right? So there's several images. I mean, when I say several, it's about four images of his eyes, eyebrows, one full 3/4 image of his face at the hostel. And then you have the picture of him at McDonald's, right?
Let's see that one.
Okay.
Let's see that one. Because this one right here, absolutely. If you ask me, do I think it's him? Yeah. If I do a side-by-side comparison, it looks like it's him. But
well, the person didn't say it's him. He said, I think it's him. And they came by and they verified it was him. That's the difference.
Let's look at it.
And if you take a look at it, it does look like him. He's got the same long nose. He's covering his eyebrows, which is a little suspicious.
Okay.
And he's got a long nose.
If I were to compare this image, okay, of a brutish looking, very masculine, almost looks like a dude who went through 4 rounds of boxing or something. The nose is beat up. It's larger nose, more like my nose than it is the nose of that feminine looking elven creature that you showed me earlier. That feminine face in the hoodie that you showed me earlier. The one time that he opened his face up, you said, right?
Yeah.
So we've got 2 times where his face is open. You showed me earlier. We'll flash it in the edit. It's a very feminine looking male face where he's smiling and he's got his eyebrows are covered and his nose looks almost sloped. And in this image you're showing me now, his nose looks more the opposite way, wider, much more rough and masculine. To me, these two do not look like the same person.
Well, here's the thing.
I can agree that they are if you tell me they are.
Here's the thing. It doesn't even matter if whoever thinks it's the same person, because they have him with the gun. They have him with the notes.
I'm not arguing that it's the same person or not. I'm just saying it doesn't look to be the same. So therefore, I don't buy the story that the McDonald's person saw this dude and said, oh, it's that dude. I don't buy it.
There's going to be an identity expert, and I work with him, that'll tell you, he could introduce 10 photos of you that don't look like you to me.
I agree.
That I will look at and say, I don't know who this is, depending on the angle, depending on the lighting, depending on the contrast, the color.
Again, I'm saying it's him.
So
it is him. I agree.
So they're going to get experts to not even have you think about that for 30 seconds. And anybody that's conspiratorial, I could tell you right now, stop with the conspiracies. It's him, because
it's him.
They caught him with the gun, with the manifesto. Now, I guess we can make an
argument.
argument.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Now, we can make an argument. Did the government plant the evidence to get their guy to calm everybody down? No,
No, the only thing I'm saying is it's 100% him. And also, the McDonald's employee could not have identified him based on the photo, in my gut reasoning. So therefore, something else identified him at the scene. It is him. There's got to be another way they found him other than the tip. That's my gut. I could be wrong. But I do agree it's him.
You know
how many tips they were getting?
Yeah, a lot.
Why would they suddenly show up to the scene on this one in Altoon?
Because of the timeline of where he was going. They caught him going into the terminal at Port Authority and heading out of Manhattan. So they knew.
But to which direction? Did they know he was headed to Altoon?
Yeah. So on December 9, before December 9, they got a call saying there was on December 9, they got a call from a worker and saying that he resembled the photos. She never said it was him. He resembled it based on the broadcast in the media. And then Altoon Police Department went out there responding to just because they're responding to everything. You understand that? They're going everywhere. They're not just doing it for especially. They are. They have
thousands of tips. They're not sending thousands of
foot. Police department has like 100,000 police officers in New York, right? How many police officers are there?
They're not walking up to every kid who's being called in on a tip. This one, they walked right up to him. And again, we all agree.
55,000 people. They have 55,000 cops.
And you think they were, well, it's not like they're all on the Luigi
No, but I mean, if they just, this is a serious thing. If Eric Adams called up every reserve officer, every detective and said, you're going to do overtime, you're going to work on this thing, and you got 25, 30,000 police officers, you don't even need that. Just need maybe 10 good cops, tops. So
I'm open to being convinced.
And those 10 cops are generals, and they send their soldiers, who are the investigators, go do this, go do that, go, and they follow up on all the tips. They do it on every murder case. When you get thousands, they filter through them. They ask, "What did you see? How do you know?" And they send them out. So yes, of course they did that. They did follow up. Okay. That's the only way they would be able to track Mangione. Okay. But the strange thing is, Tony, again, in my opinion, this guy has a pretty good mental health defense. You don't do all this and then go eat hash browns. It doesn't make sense. Okay. And then did you hear him yelling on TV? He's yelling like eating Korean things, like they're insulting the intelligence of the society or something. He said something like that.
Have you ever met someone who's brilliant but also stupid?
Yes.
You know what I mean by that, right?
Yes.
It happens. Yeah. It happens. Even to the.
They think they're so smart. Yeah.
Like. We have smart moments and stupid moments in our, and like I'll do the dumbest thing sometime and I'll be like, that literally makes no sense. Why would I have done that? And then other times, maybe some things are relatively smart. Maybe you're right and he's got a mental impairment and that could be a defense. Or maybe he's just a brilliant guy sometimes and also very stupid as well. Because killing Brian Thompson was a stupid thing in itself. I just want to, for 1 second, talk about Brian Thompson because nobody's talking about Brian Thompson. Literally nobody. The CEO that was killed, 50 years old, left behind 2 daughters and a wife. Nobody really mentions the fact that, and I don't know a lot about the guy. I really don't. I'm not going to stand here and say too many positive things about him. I don't know, but a little bit of research that I did, I was interested to find that he was a dude that kept a really low profile as a CEO, but also one of the things he was trying to push was value-based care, which is a actual change in the general path of the healthcare system, or some would call the sick care system. Apparently, from a little bit of research I was able to do, Brian Thompson was actually trying to push a different direction of care. You're smirking suspiciously. You don't believe me, or you're being cynical.
I mentioned this on our last show.
Okay,
Remember the conspiracy about how the healthcare company was going after him because he was making that change.
Okay.
On the last podcast.
Cool. Fair. So you're on board with this.
I said that in the last podcast we talked about this.
Okay, so let me mention again.
Exactly what I mentioned.
Let me double down on what you had said previously, which is like this value-based care, which says, hey, maybe we pay a little more to doctors and to the medical care providers to try to keep the patients more healthy, and then in the long term avoid the large sick care. So listen, maybe I could distill that down to like he's a good guy and he's trying to actually get healthcare to change. Maybe I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here, to get healthcare to change towards a actual keeping people healthy perspective, healthier long term, reducing the costs of pharma, of surgery, of all this deep pocketed healthcare and providers, and instead taking this different approach. And here comes Luigi with whatever, either mental illness or smart, stupid programming he's got in him, and he guns down this guy. He guns down this CEO who's actually trying to make that change. And one more thing is I want to just read the one thing I was able to find, a public statement from his wife, because we're talking about how Luigi came down. He looks kind of cool. He's on his e-bike. He's got his backpack. He is the Joker. But let's put a little heart into what he actually did, which is like he killed this man who had a wife, had 2 daughters, and she said, I guess through maybe her sister, she issued a statement saying, "We are shattered to hear about the senseless killing of our beloved Brian. He was an incredible, loving, generous, talented man who truly lived life to the fullest." This is his wife saying this, "and touched so many lives. Most importantly, Brian was an incredibly loving father to our 2 sons." I stand corrected. He had 2 sons, not 2 daughters. "To our 2 sons, and will be greatly missed. We appreciate your well wishes and request complete privacy as our family moves through this difficult time." So that's the person Luigi gunned down.
Right.
Stupid thing to do. Real stupid.
I never agreed with it. I don't condone his behavior. I think what he did was wrong. Like I told you, if I sat down with Luigi, I would tell him that was, wait for Congress, testify, sue the insurance company for bad faith.
But is it mental illness or just stupidity?
Well, I think it's mental illness, and I would absolutely delve into that issue. And by the way, aside from the mental illness, what you talked about, they were absolutely going to talk about identity. I'm not saying that you shouldn't say it wasn't him. You should absolutely say it's not him. I don't care what video you have. That doesn't look like him. My guy was just eating hash browns. You just arrested the wrong guy. And then
that's not going to work.
You do it. You try it. Yeah. But what you really try to do is what is called a viable defense. Viability means what's going to be able to grow in your backyard. What's going to be able to grow is the fact that he's got mental problems because he was off the radar, off the reservation for 3 months. Family, friends, nobody could find him. They were calling him. One guy was like, "Hey, bro, you're going to come to my wedding." And then he started getting indoctrinated with Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. He started reading it. This guy that killed people with mail bombs. And he started believing in it. So something happened. It's called a mental decomposition. And I'm not a psychiatrist, but I have forensic psychologists and psychiatrists that'll tell you sometimes you have a breakdown when you either go crazy or whether there's a diminished capacity in your mental health. You go through something. It's possible that he went through something where for 3 months he became somebody different. But that's got to be analyzed with a forensic expert who will tell me, RJ, here's what happened in his brain. And then even if that happened, you got to convince a jury. You have the burden, not the prosecutor. You have the burden to show that he was not of sound mind, and the test is whether he knew right from wrong. That's the actual test. So you got to get a psychiatrist to say, Luigi doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. He doesn't know that when you shoot somebody in the head, that's wrong. He thought by doing that is actually helping people, and he truly believed it because he has a mental problem, and then they got to testify to what that problem is. Does that make sense?
I completely understand what you're saying. It doesn't seem like it's going to fly.
There's odds are 1%.
Yeah, it doesn't, because...
I'm making that up, by the way, but based on my experience, that's a 1%.
I just want to push back for a sec for fun. or just for the sake of trying to analyze both sides, is like, if I'm the state, I'm going to say, listen, anytime somebody points a gun at someone's back, pulls the trigger, kills them, and they had their reason to, something happened in that person's brain. Something went on in that person's brain. There was some kind of mental decomposition that led to this stupid decision to go out and kill somebody. So just the fact that he slipped up and got caught with everything, because it looks stupid. Yeah, you're an idiot. You got caught with that, and the 3D printed gun, and the silencer, and the manifesto, and whatever else, and the backpack. Okay, that's not enough to say you're crazy and that you don't know the difference between right and wrong. That's a further leap, right?
Well, the thing is, if he doesn't have the intent, if he cannot formulate the intent to kill somebody, then it does matter.
I agree, but he formulated that intent here.
We don't know. You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows.
He pre-planned it. He circled around on a bike in the dark. He waited for Brian Thompson to come out.
That's the argument, but was he in a psychotic stage when he was doing
He
that?
previously wrote, I'm going to whack that CEO.
Yes, he said the parasites had it coming. But again,
premeditation.
Was he in a psychotic state when he said that?
But what if he had time? Maybe he was, but if he thought and planned and had all that time to mull it over and then made the decision to go kill, he wasn't in a psychotic state all that time. So at the last second, if he became psychotic, I don't really care. You already made the decision to kill when you were not psychotic.
I think that's the same thing with Jeffrey Dahmer. I think he tried to use that defense that he was crazy when he ate all those people, but I don't think it worked, right? In Jeffrey Dahmer's case?
Yeah, you might be crazy while you're eating them, but you weren't crazy at the moment you decided to go out and do all this.
It's a very difficult defense, but it's the only thing that you have.
Yeah.
I mean, he has nothing else. You realize that, right?
Yeah, I don't think he has anything else.
Yeah, so he did. So Jeffrey Dahmer did have an insanity defense, so he used it. Okay,
and he would have been more likely to use an insanity defense than this guy. That guy's cannibalizing his victims.
That would make more sense to me. That you think the guy's crazy. So again, it's very difficult. But I'm I'm doing that now. I have today I had a hearing. I had a guy who shot and killed somebody. He shot him in the back of the head. I just came back from court in Hollywood today. So he's in a mental hospital right now because I don't think he knew what he did. I really don't. And I found out that he's all his life has been going to secondary school. My forensic psychiatrist says he's borderline mentally retarded, that he doesn't understand his surroundings or appreciate his surroundings. I don't think he knows right from wrong.
Was it a random killing or something?
It was a friend that came to his house and started yelling, and he just took a gun and shot him in the head.
Wow.
Why would he do that? Why would a 56-year-old man just do that? I mean, he did it. But there's got to be a motive. Just like in Mangione, by the way, the jury's going to want to know a motive.
It's clear.
So if Mangione doesn't testify, right, they're going to say, why would this guy do all that?
But he spelled his motive out.
They need to get that letter in to spell them. Yeah, the motivation.
He wrote it multiple places, right? Multiple places.
You know what I would do? I would get a handwriting expert to say that's not his handwriting, if that's possible.
You could probably.
Every single thing has to be disputed. It's not his handwriting. It's not his gun. Oh, and by the way, you said he printed the gun. Where's the printer? Right. Show me the printer. Right. Which printer printed it?
Right.
And okay, you're telling me he learned on CAD how to do this, on an audio design, a computer audio design?
Right.
What CAD program? Where was the computer? Show me the design. Where did he print it? The more you start poking holes into the theory of the people's case, if there's more holes in the people's case than the golf course, then that jury's going to come back and say, you know what? I don't know. Maybe it is him. It's possible it's him. And yes, he's pissed at the government. But I'm not sure if you made that connection between Mangione and that guy that's eating hash browns. And all you need is, let's talk about the last topic, stealth juror. One stealth juror. There are people dying to go on this jury panel. I'm not going to mention names. I got people back in New York. They're like, I can't wait because I'm a New Yorker. So I know New York friends, and they can't wait to be on that jury. And
because they're going to reward the vigilante justice.
Oh, yeah.
And let this guy go.
Yes. They're
like, I'm going to be the linchpin, or I'm going to be the one key in the case, which is going to be his freedom.
And I tell all my friends, I'm like, that's completely illegal. The answer is, I don't care.
That's illegal.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Let them prosecute me. And they asked me, are they going to prosecute me? And I said, probably not. Like, okay.
Yeah.
He's like, has anybody ever been prosecuted for jury nullifications? Like, not that I can remember. He's like, okay, thank you. Click.
Right.
So
two things here could go in Luigi's favor.
Yeah.
One is jury nullification because there's somebody out there who's dying to get, you called them a stealth juror.
Yes.
And that means they're not going to answer honestly during voir dire.
Right.
They're going to lie.
Yes.
They're going to say I'm impartial.
Yes.
They're going to say I'm capable of finding a guilty here.
Just like, what's her name? Strawberry Shortcake and Scott Peterson. She was domestic violence. She was beaten up, never disclosed that. And she went on the Scott Peterson case, the guy that killed his wife up in Modesto.
Yeah. We talked.
She was a stealth juror.
We did an episode.
She was a stealth juror.
And she tried to get him off?
No, she convicted him. She wanted to convict him. She was a stealth juror to convict, not the opposite.
She was the opposite.
She was the opposite.
And in this case, there might be a stealth juror somewhere in Manhattan who's dying to get on that jury, who says all the right things to get on the jury, but secretly is going to is going to go not guilty.
Well, let's add to that. In the history of cases in America, I have never known, and I'm a big buff on cases in history, I have never seen this enthusiasm to this level to give him a nullification.
Right.
So typically in a trial when I'm really right, when there's a police beating, when I do civil rights cases, and I tell my client, I was like, in my heart, I don't think they're gonna vote guilty. In the worst case scenario, somebody will nullify you. That's what I always say. In their bones, they can't let it go. So with this guy, with Mangione, there's gonna be not just one person. I think there's gonna be half the jury pool is gonna be stealth jurors.
I hope not.
There's going to be too many. There's going to be too many stealth jurors. You're not going to be able to weed all of them. Statistically, I think this guy's got a 30% chance of a nullification.
God, I hope you're wrong. And I would, I could see that happening, of course, but maybe that would be more likely if Brian Thompson truly was an evil figure. Like if Brian Thompson was somebody who you could really show blood on his hands, and like babies had died because care had been denied to them and pregnant women had. I mean, if you could really say, man, this is a bad guy, then even though it's still illegal and even though it's still wrong, I could definitely see that some people would be out there to support the vigilante justice and be stealth jurors trying to bomb this case. But in the case of Brian Thompson, I mean, I just read you the statement from the poor guy's wife. We talked about how he was actually the guy who was trying to maybe redirect healthcare to help patients more. Hopefully jurors won't feel that way, and they'll give him and his family the respect that he also deserves, even though he's not the popular guy right now. No one's talking about Brian Thompson. Everybody's talking about Luigi. Luigi's the sex symbol, not Brian Thompson. But hopefully those 12 people that end up on the jury will give Brian and his family the level of respect that they deserve, and if the facts line up and this truly is Luigi and he did this, then they'll find him guilty.
Everything about Brian Thompson will be not disclosed to the jury. They will not know anything about him other than the fact that he got killed. They will not know anything about the fact other than he was a CEO of United Healthcare. They won't know that he has children. They won't know that he has a wife. That will not be introduced. And as a criminal defense attorney, I would object to that because it's prejudicial. It has nothing to do with whether or not my client committed the murder.
True.
So the only issue is there a human being that died? If the answer is yes, what is that human being's name? Brian Thompson. The second thing is, do you have evidence that my guy did it? Yes or no? Everything else is irrelevant. I don't care about the clothes that he wore. I don't care about the family that he has. None of that is relevant. So, so the jury's not going to consider any of that.
But if there are these shadowy stealth jurors out there, like you say, they should know. They probably know.
Oh,
who
you mean
Brian,
on the other side?
Well, the ones who are coming to tank this case. It's free Luigi. The stealth. The stealth ones you're talking about?
Actually, it's a good point. It could be stealth on both sides. I didn't think about it. It could be stealth guilty and stealth not guilty.
There could be stealth guilty and more likely.
I think more stealth not guilty.
Not guilty.
I think somebody said statistically 60% polled agree with what he did. Something crazy
so
like that.
If you agree with what he did, you would have to think Brian Thompson's a bad guy, right?
No.
So you could agree with what he did and not have any clue into Brian Thompson?
Yes.
Because you could then you're saying, I don't care who he killed.
That's right.
Kill anybody.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
that's what they're saying. The stealth jurors are going to say, I don't care. He's not guilty because healthcare sucks.
Right. And they may say that. And again, they're not going to know. Most people know Brian Thompson is in New York. Okay. Now it's on the news. They know. But going in there, if they're a stealth juror, they're not told about Brian's life during the trial. The only time they're told about Brian's life is if he loses. Then a sentencing phase, yes. Then they're going to bring in the wife. They're going to bring in the children. That's an impact statement. In California, we call that Marcy's Law, but it's a victim impact statement. But before then, we want to sanitize and make sure that Mangione is given a fair trial. We don't implore the emotions of the jury by mentioning these things about Brian Thompson because that would sway the jury, right? So those are not mentioned.
Which I get. I think that's fair. I think that's smart. And here's why. I think we do that. Correct me if I'm wrong. It feels like we have that policy in place of not talking too much about Brian Thompson or at all about Brian Thompson because we don't want the jury to feel bad for him and therefore find Luigi guilty.
That's right.
But in this case, it's like opposite land. The risk is not that they're going to feel good for Brian and find Luigi guilty. The risk is actually that they're going to that they're going to find Brian overly evil or something as the representative of this healthcare and find Luigi not guilty.
They can't consider that.
I know that they officially can't, but you're aware, that there's a risk that they might. Like, you're saying they might come in as stealth. So I guess is our policy correct? Because it accounts for the possibility of a guilty, but it doesn't really account for the possibility of the not guilty through the stealth.
He's not going to be found not guilty
or hung jury.
I think that's a realistic scenario. I don't think he's going to walk. He's not going to walk.
But shouldn't we allow a little bit of color about Brian Thompson and his wife and his kids to the jury just so we can nullify any, I'm using the word nullify, so we can diminish that stealth juror?
No, because by doing that, you're taking away the presumption of innocence. You're telling them, please feel bad for Brian. It's not the day to feel bad for Brian. It's a day to show whether this guy committed the crime.
Yeah.
We're not a feel for Brian court. We're a did he do the murder court. Yeah. That's all.
I'm with you. And we shouldn't feel bad for Brian on that day. But But we also shouldn't feel bad for Luigi on that day.
Right. You're not supposed to feel bad for him and give him, but you're supposed to presume innocence. And when Mayor Adams goes to Mangione on that helipad and looks him in the eye, you're taking away the presumption of innocence. Why are you taking away the presumption? Because you're telling the whole country, this guy's a bad dude. I'm meeting him there for a reason.
Didn't Mayor Adams have his own legal problem?
Yeah, exactly, Eric Adams. Why don't you worry about your own legal problem?
I'm not sure you're diminishing the presumption of innocence when Mayor Adams goes up.
And it's ironic because he should know. He's also presumed innocent. I wouldn't say that negative about Eric Adams. So they're taking away the AR-15s, Mayor Adams going, the way they're handling him, bringing him into court.
It's wild.
His attorney's spot on right. Her name is Karen Agnifilo, I think her name is. She's Sean Diddy's lawyer's wife. So Sean Combs' lawyer is Mark Agnifilo, if that's his name, and his wife is Karen. So they're two powerhouse lawyers, and they're both representing high-profile people at the same time, which I've actually never heard of. I never heard of a power couple representing two of the most famous people in the country at the same time. So she is a former prosecutor from the Southern District of New York for many, many years, and she told the judge in Mangione's case, in my entire life, I've never seen this kind of show of force before. That's a former prosecutor saying that.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about why that might be. That there is a real need to kind of quell any kind of massive populist uprising or copycat murders.
You're crushing his rights at the same time.
Again, from a utilitarian standpoint, we're trying to do it because it's better for all of us.
Right.
Like, people out there, don't go out and start killing heads of companies just because you're unhappy with the company. We do not want to live in a society like that.
No.
Let me ask you this. Yeah. So he's facing state charges for first-degree murder.
Second. First degree is when you kill a cop or an ambulance worker or some sort of professional related to an executive duty, they call it. So
now you're saying
firefighter.
Okay, so New York does it different.
Yeah, New York does it different.
Okay, so that's confusing.
Second
so
degree,
let's call it premeditated murder with intent. Right.
Second degree, yeah.
Okay. Second degree only in New York. In California, that would have been first. Right? I mean, New York seems to do it differently, and I remember
there's no degrees in
right. New York does it differently. Well, I remember that from criminal law.
There's technicalities,
but he's being charged with he's being charged with premeditated murder on a state level in New York City.
Yeah.
and then he's being charged at a federal level with what? Terrorism?
Stalking.
And that potentially would bring a death penalty?
Yes, because anytime you affect public policy or government decision-making through terroristic acts, it qualifies for a federal charge such as this.
Dude, why do we need to charge him with terrorism when it seems like we already have him on first-degree murder, or in New York it's second degree, but premeditated murder? Like, there's already a law in the books. If you premeditate someone's murder and kill him in cold blood with intent, you're a murderer. You could go to jail for life. Why terrorism? It seems like it's like...
They're overcharging this. In my entire career, I've never seen somebody overcharge before in my entire life like this. Again, they're sending a message to everybody across the United States. Don't F with us. Big brother and little brother. Little brother being New York. Big brother being the USA.
Yeah.
Now, but they could.
So the feds want him to.
Yeah, but I think they're overcharging in this case, and I think
Seems like
they may wind up with egg on their face, just like in Daniel Penny's case, the
Yeah,
the guy in New York.
Yeah.
They might say, just in Penny's case, when they charge him with a crazy crime, it was, I don't know,
Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor.
manslaughter, and then they said not guilty. They found hung jury, so the prosecutor then said, oh, okay, we'll take away the overcharge. We'll give them the little charge, because that's what they do. They overcharge you, hoping that they grab the big charge. But when they can't figure out the big charge, they sweep it underneath you and they get what they want anyway. But guess what? In a Daniel Penny case, they said, if you can't figure out what's going on the big charge, why do you want us to figure out what's on the small charge? And they came back and they released him. They acquitted him.
Good, thank God. And that was Alvin.
That could happen in Mangione.
That was Alvin
Mangione
Bragg.
might say you guys are overcharging him.
Was that Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor? If I may say so, that was a miscarriage of justice just to bring those charges against Daniel
Well,
Penny.
they may think it's a miscarriage of justice for the Mangione case if they overcharge him. A lot of people are outraged, saying, "Come on, you're way overdoing this thing. He just shot and killed somebody. He wasn't trying to, I mean, I guess technically he was trying to change public policy. But here's the thing."
But that's not necessarily terrorism.
They're weaponizing.
We've let the definition of terrorism sort of like slip through our fingers at this point. It's gotten way too broad. I mean, since 9/11, this whole Patriot Act gave the government excess rights to monitor us, to surveil us, and blah, blah, all in the name of terrorism. And now this is terrorism? It's a little far-fetched.
Essentially, if you're affecting public policy with violence or a government decision-making, it fits the elements of the federal crime. Mm-hmm. But they usually don't do this. I mean, they usually don't charge. Did they charge, they don't charge.
Did he with terrorism?
Well, he wasn't trying to affect public policy or government decision. But, he was charged like Zornov Tsarnaev, who was the Boston bomber. Okay. The same kind of, terrorism charges.
You mean Mangione is?
Mangione, yeah. Just like Zornov Tsarnaev in Boston.
They're trying to make that link to like domestic terrorism. You're not just out to kill this guy because he's the wrong guy. He's the guy actually trying to take healthcare the other direction. You're actually out to send a message to change all of healthcare.
To cause a chilling effect.
Yeah, or to cause all of us to react against this societal institution of healthcare. So terrorism on that level? I guess.
When you cause a chilling effect, which means everybody freezes in their tracks and they change their mind because you killed somebody, that is tantamount to that is a terrorism charge in federal law.
Got it.
They don't want you to go, if you don't like a law, and say, you know what, I'm going to go bust that cap in that senator's head. So the next senator, when he runs, he'll remember that.
Exactly.
He'll know not to do that.
Yeah, that would be domestic terrorism.
Well, right, domestic. Yeah. Or forget the senator. I know senator obviously makes it federal, but let's just make it, I don't know, make it something else. Like you want to change the way something is done in the United States. Perfect example is Mangione. He wants to change the United healthcare system, so he puts a cap in one of the parasites' head, thinking is going to change it.
Right.
That he wants to send a chilling effect right across the country so that all COs would basically say, waving the white flag, okay, we're going to change our system. Don't kill us anymore. That's the chilling effect that the government is trying to stop.
I see.
It stops business in its tracks. Capitalism, just think about it.
We don't want CEOs, we can't have that. We can't have it.
No, we can't. It's vigilante. It's vigilantism on a hyper level. Mm-hmm. And it also, remember something, this happened.
Like I don't need kids running around with Luigi t-shirts.
Not only that, how about your kids running around next to another Luigi that decides to kill somebody while you're walking down Fifth Avenue because he wants to make it a point?
Right.
How about if the next guy's not so careful? Mangione said, I thought about many ways of doing this, but he didn't want collateral damage because he didn't want victims, right? Mm-hmm. How about if the next Mangione doesn't care? He's like, I don't care. The greater good. I'm going to blow this guy's head off. And if some kids are around, then so be it.
Exactly.
At least I'm saving millions of people by taking this guy's away.
Right.
And if a couple of kids are dead, well, you know what? If you want to make an omelet, you got to, break some eggs.
And that statement is infuriating, and it's too easy to use that statement. It's a slippery slope, and you get into a society of violence.
Right.
Let's not Che Guevara this guy.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's not do it.
I agree.
I get the temptation. I totally get it. If you're young out there, you're angry. Hey, oldies like us should be more angry. Like I should be more angry at the healthcare than my kids are. I'm the one, but so I get the temptation. We're the ones paying the premiums that are through the roof, not getting the coverage we think we deserve or our family should have. Getting denied, like you talked about your mom, God rest her soul, on the last podcast you mentioned. You have reason to be upset because of the healthcare industry. So let's not let this.
And on top of all that, he was a millionaire. He was going to, his by and default, he's going to inherit millions. He was raised in a beautiful house, country club. And this guy has money. It would make more sense, and the story would be more beautiful from my criminal defense eyes, if he had no money and he needed surgery and he got denied. They delayed him and they deposed him, and he was in severe pain all his life. That would break my heart. Even though that is not a defense, that would make more sense. But the kid's got money. The kid's rolling in dough, swimming in it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense. But that could also go to his mental health problem, Tony, that we could say, that could be an argument to be made to the jury. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Mr. Mangione was, going to inherit millions and millions of dollars. He was raised as a millionaire. His parents are millionaires. They could afford everything under the sun. He wasn't, hurting for money. Mm-hmm. Why would he do this? Because you would have to say to yourself, something is wrong with him. Mm-hmm. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? We have Dr. So-and-so that's going to come testify. He's going to tell you that his brain decomposed. He's going to tell you that after he read Ted Kaczynski's manifesto, something happened to him. He changed. We're going to bring in witnesses, his best friends, that said he was never the same. We're going to bring in witnesses that say he was posting cryptic messages on Facebook. Mm-hmm. We're going to bring in witnesses that say that he was aloof, that when they saw him, he wasn't eating right or he wasn't, thinking right. And you break that down to the jury, and then hopefully the jury bites. But in all honesty, what you're really doing is you're setting it up to the prosecutor to get a good deal. You're basically coming to the prosecutor and bluffing, like they say in poker. Mm-hmm. You're saying, hey, I got a good report. My client's crazy, but you know what? We don't want to go there. Mm-hmm. Just give me 20 years. We'll call it a day. Oof. And let me tell you something. 20 years is a fantastic deal on a case like this.
If he gets 20, he's just like, he's scot-free in a sense. Like he's dodging a major potential. I mean, he's dodging the death penalty. He's dodging life in prison. Yes. All of that stuff, I get how a great defense attorney will make the argument you just did. But maybe the jury will be like, cry me a river, dude.
That's right.
Cry me a river, bro.
Right.
Like, we're all upset.
Right.
Sorry. You don't get to do what you did.
And look at the Menendez brothers. They claim that they were molested and raped all their lives.
Like they were.
And the jury was like, well, sorry. You should have killed your mom.
Right.
You should have just taken some therapy and left them alone or left the house. Not every defense is viable, but you have to put your best defense forward.
All right. Well, ready to go enjoy Christmas with the family?
On that note, have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Happy New Year. Everybody stay out of trouble. Don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive. That should be the main message out of it.
Take an Uber, a Waymo. Or
don't give RJ more clients.
I'm not working, so I'm not around.
But really, stay safe out there.